Hi there. How you doing? It's me again, Rick Jiha, and we're doing this a little differently today, only because at 9 a.m. California time on Friday morning, the 15th of November, I will be on a plane. Not shocking, considering how much time I spend on planes. So Jennifer, my business partner, has asked me to get this recorded onto YouTube, and then she will replay it in the morning. So I'm excited as heck because let's be honest, you talk, I'm always saying I'm excited. I'm kind of the optimist. But look, today's November 14th. It happens to be my dad's 94th birthday, only my dad's not alive. However, still like to keep track of that. A lot of interesting things happened today, including getting a phone call from somebody about tracking our family name back to the 1500s in Lebanon, which is nice to hear since I'm full-blooded Lebanese. Anyway, so I was recently in Iowa. A week before I was in Houston. Week before that I was in Minnesota. Sometimes being trained, like I was in Houston. Sometimes sharing, sometimes learning, sometimes just getting to know people. It's been an incredible month already, and we're only halfway through it. But here's the thing I notice, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about doing this call. Today I'm going to actually spend a little more time than I ever have reading from this book and actually talking a little bit about the book and using it as a way to do a lesson that's very important today. What I'm overwhelmed with is how, from the youngest people I know in the real estate industry, and I know some 18-year-olds, I have a good friend named Ralph who I started talking to him about selling real estate when he was 10 because I was doing business with his dad. Today's a very successful real estate. He's 37 or 38 years old, and it's amazing how similar the things are that we process, no matter what age we are, how many years we've been in the industry, what we've learned, what different style of business we do from other people, whether we did hundreds and hundreds of REOs in the REO and short sale day or we didn't. It's crazy because our mindsets are all so similar. In other words, these behaviors keep repeating themselves. And even when people have gone to seminars or motivational things, they come back and they get all excited for the first few days. That's one of the things. And then they do nothing, or they do something for 1 or 2 days and then drop it. But generally, like when I go to seminars, you hear people talking about the Monday morning blues. And that is, you've been at a seminar for a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and you come back and you're all wound up Sunday night, and you wake up Monday morning and you go, ho hum, this is still my life. Right? And then as I've traveled so much, I mean, I think September 28th is almost exactly a month and a half ago. I think since September 28th till today, I've been home. Maybe by home, I mean in the area that I live and work, maybe 13 or 14 days, not very many. And the number of people I've met that have made a very incredible effect on me is just awesome. And I'm still seeing that all of us fight with those same things. So the journey to become the best version of you is not a start and finish. I'll start today, I'll finish in a year from now. No, it's constant, right? It's a constant fight. It's a constant battle to wake up and battle the demons inside of you. And a lot of times the demons is just your own self-talk. Like I used to say to people when I would speak that, if other people said about you what you say to yourself about you, you'd punch them. Like you wouldn't let them get away with that. Yet we do it all the time. So that's why when I was thinking about, I was on the plane today. I had I was in Iowa, the Quad Cities, Iowa, Davenport, Iowa, and Moline, Illinois, right there. And I had about a 90-minute flight from there to Minneapolis, and then a 3.5-hour ride from Minneapolis home. And had some opportunities to review this. This book is called The Greatest Salesman in the World. I want to say that the original copyright was 1968. So it's 51 years old, this book. And Norman Vincent Peale, who didn't write the book, Og Mandino did, said, "The Greatest Salesman in the World is one of the most inspiring, uplifting, and motivating books I've ever read. I can well understand why it has had such a splendid acceptance." But what Og Mandino did was create 10 scrolls to live your salesperson life by. But what's really cool about the scrolls is that they are about life just as much as they're about sales. So it's a story about a person, and then it goes into the scrolls that this person talks about, that this person has discovered. And there's 10 scrolls. So what I'm going to do is today we're only going to talk about scroll number 1, but we're going to dissect it because his language is amazing and it's a little flowery, right? There's a real incredible vocabulary word that I don't know. My brother David would know it, about how you describe this type of writing. But I'm going to read a little bit and then we're going to go over it. And if you have a chance between now and when we talk again, we're going to be doing our calls every Friday, 9 a.m. California time. Okay. So California time, keep track of that whole light saving stuff. Whatever times in California, 9 a.m. California time is what time we'll be having this call. If you need to if you're seeing this for some reason and you are not on my normal Friday calls, you need to text or email me and I will get your email on the link so that you can be on those calls every Friday morning. So this one's called the scroll marked 1. So each scroll says scroll marked 1, and then there's scroll marked 2 up to 10. Today I begin a new life. Today I shed my old skin, which hath too long suffered the bruises of failure and the wounds of mediocrity. Today I am born anew, and my birthplace is a vineyard where there is fruit for all. Today I will pluck grapes of wisdom from the tallest and fullest vines in the vineyard, for these were planted by the wisest of my profession, who have come before me generation upon generation. Let's stop right there. Today I shed my old skin. Now start thinking about what that means. There is no old you and new you. There's only the real you, and you have older habits. And those habits didn't get you where you wanted to go. Or there's no way in the world you'd be listening to me, that's for sure. You'd be on a beach somewhere or on a mountain somewhere. If everything went exactly the way you had designed it and you were wealthy, healthy, happy, all of those amazing things, I don't think you'd be listening to this. Today I'm born anew, and my birthplace is a vineyard where there is fruit for all. So interpret that. That is, I am now in a business where there is plenty for everybody. Plenty. So I love when people say, well, how'd he get that listing? Don't worry. He got the listing. It's too late for you. You can learn from it, but don't worry about how or everything. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Learn how and go do more of it, but don't worry about that listing being lost. I used to just, I have 71 licensed relatives in the real estate industry, and I'd hear somebody I knew listed with one of my other relatives or even another agent. I'm like, what the heck? Right? It drove me nuts. You learn from it and move on, but you don't spend that, like, anything needs its time to mourn. And that's the Tiger Woods rule that I learned about, 7 seconds. Tiger Woods would say, I hit a great shot. I admire it for 7 seconds. I forget about it. I move on. I hit a lousy shot. I moan, I complain, I grump for 7 seconds, then I got to forget about it and start anew. Now he says, today I will pluck grapes of wisdom from the tallest and fullest vines in the vineyard. And what he says after that is, for these were planted by the wisest of my profession. So that's about, what is that? Plucking grapes. He says, pluck the grapes of wisdom. So I'm learning knowledge from people who went before me. Anthony Robbins says the most successful people in the world are professional modelers, meaning they model themselves after the people that came before them. So let's get on. Today I will savor the taste of grapes from these vines, and verily I will swallow the seed of success buried in each, and new life will sprout within me. So I'm going to go out and learn new things that I know will make a difference in my business, assuming I use them. Now, remember, he's not talking about assuming you use them. That's because there's going to be another scroll that talks about the actual action part. Today, he's talking about, I have a new life. I have a new chance at beginning this career. The career, listen to this. This one's great. The career I have chosen is laden with opportunity, yet it is fraught with heartbreak and despair. And listen to this. And the bodies of those who have failed, where they piled one on top of another, would cast a shadow down upon all the pyramids of the earth. Amazing writing. I call it flowery, but there's technically a term of it. Yet I will not fail as the other. Well, what he's saying is how many people have failed in the industry, and we know it. I was listening to someone else the other day saying that somebody had asked him, what's the average real estate agent sell, or what can a real estate agent expect to sell in their first year? And she said the average real estate agent sells 2 houses in their first year, and with 2 years is out of the business. And that was a very intelligent answer, because maybe the question that was intended, of all the people that have lasted in the business, what can you expect, right? So yeah, it says, yet I will not fail as the others, for in my hands I now hold the charts which will guide me through perilous waters to shores which only yesterday seemed but a dream. So are you dreaming big enough? There's a question that comes right out of there. Like when I read that the first time, I was like, shores which only yesterday seemed but a dream. I hear people talk all the time. A buddy of mine, Patrick in Utah, always says, I'll see you on the best beaches of the world. And that's his way of saying we'll all meet there when we've achieved our dreams. And I love that saying, I'll see you on the best beaches of the world. There's people, I always know there's people, there are mountain people and beach people. I'm a beach person. I'm a water person. So failure no longer will be my payment for struggle. That's the first sentence of that next paragraph. Failure no longer will be my payment for struggle, meaning I will put this new wisdom to work and I will succeed. So I want you to think about that. When he says that, he says, just as nature made no provision for my body to tolerate pain, neither has it made any provision for my life to suffer failure. Failure, like pain, is alien to my life. In the past, I accepted it as I accepted pain. Now I reject it, and I am prepared for wisdom and principles which will guide me out of the shadows into the sunlight of wealth, position, and happiness far beyond my most extravagant dreams, until even the golden apples in the Garden of Hesperides will seem no more than my just reward. So in this flowery language, he's saying, I can have these amazing things that most people have only dreamed of. You probably heard people say, if I will do what others won't, I can have what others want. So what I'd like you to think about is, what is it in the world that I want for me? So I'm going to put the book down for a second and comment on a couple of things, because I just had an emotional trip to Iowa. I got to meet some people I didn't know, and it was incredible how learning-based, how warm, how kind the people were that I was with. And warm and kind was important, because when I woke up on Tuesday morning, it was like 3 degrees. So warmth was definitely necessary. But one of the things that you think about in there is that we are raised, most of us, to not be selfish, not to put ourselves first. It's not about you. It's not about you. I used to hear that saying a lot, but then it got really famous when Rick Warren wrote the book. Oh my gosh, it's a very famous book. I'll think of the name in a minute. I got like 3 copies of it in there. But at that saying, it's not about you, started making people think, well, I'm thinking too much of me. But one of the things I've noticed as I've kind of traveled through, the environment that I'm in, a sales environment, but being around family, loved ones, all kinds of people all over the United States and Canada and other parts of the world, is that we most people, more than 70%, in fact, as many as 81 to 97% of humans in their behavioral style will sacrifice their own well-being, their own health, their own good to help others. And now here's the thing, deep inside their mind, their hearts, they're doing it because they want to help others, but there is an intrinsic underlayment, so to speak, of people who are doing it to avoid doing the things they must do to have the life they want. Do you get that? Like, I want you to think about that and replay it if you have to, rewind. There's this underlying or deep-seated denial that what they're really doing is doing the help of others so that they have the right to say, I was so busy helping others, I couldn't get to that. Okay? Everything human beings do, ladies and gentlemen, they do for a reward. So I want you to remember that. We all do things for a reward. And sometimes that reward is we get to be right about sucking. that we suck, right? That's what we say about ourselves. I suck. So because I was busy helping people, I couldn't get to the activities that would get me what I want, maybe lead generation in the real estate business, or watching what I eat at night. Because I was so busy helping people, I came back hungry. I had to eat whatever was there, which was that donut or that bread or that butter or whatever. And what do we do in our minds and in our hearts and our souls and our words? Say, well, it was because I was helping others and I got home late, instead of taking full responsibility. In other words, putting ourselves first. Put yourself first. Imagine this. If you're unhealthy, unwealthy, you don't have the resources, and you still want to help people. Is it possible? Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only is it possible, it's probable, and it's been done by millions. But here's the thing. If your true goal is to help more and more people, then wouldn't you want to stop and see what you could do to take care of yourself so that you could live longer, healthier, wealthier, more resources, happier, more committed to the outcome for other people? You would have so much more willingness, desire, and ability, capacity to help more and more people, because you would stop to make sure you were good first. Okay? Again, it doesn't mean being selfish. It means being so selfless that you want to help thousands more people by making sure you've got what you need first. Okay? So just a little side comment there. Now, I'm not exactly sure I remember where we were, but here we go. Time teaches all things to him who lives forever, but I have not the luxury of eternity. Right? We're not going to live forever. I'm in my 40th year of selling houses, and I'm still learning like a son of a gun. And most of what I learned, I go, why didn't I learn that when I was younger, right? Enough. Don't worry about that. Just use it going forward. Yet within my allotted time, I must practice the art of patience, for nature acts never in haste. Meaning I can't push what's going to happen. I'll do my best and things will happen on their own time. To create the olive, king of all trees, 100 years is required. An onion plant is old in 9 weeks. I have lived as an onion plant. I love that part. He talks about a 100-year-old olive tree and an onion plant that takes 9 weeks to get old. It does not please me. Now I wouldst become the greatest of olive trees, and in truth, the greatest of salesmen. And how will this be accomplished? Look and read along with me. Before I have neither the knowledge nor the experience to achieve greatness, and already I have stumbled in ignorance and fallen into pools of self-pity. Hello, are you listening to those words? I've fallen into pools of self-pity. The answer is simple. Listen to this. I will commence my journey unencumbered with either the weight of unnecessary knowledge or the handicap of meaningless experience. Do you know how often we say, well, he knows more, or he's been in the business longer? Some of the brightest minds I've met, like on this trip to Iowa, I met a guy. I'm pretty sure, I don't want to quote, and I won't say names, but I'm pretty sure he's the #1 producing real estate agent in the whole state of Iowa. And I know, I got it, the state of Iowa is not that populated, but this guy was amazing. And he was the same age as my older son. And he's been in the business like 5 years. I learned so much from listening to him. He was so determined, so committed. He knew what everybody on his team was doing. And then when I stepped away from him and we were having this little get together, one of the youngest ladies in the group, 29 years old, comes up to me to tell me, and I started asking about her history in real estate. She got started and started working with this gentleman on his team, same gentleman I just talked about. And she was saying such great things about how he helped her, that she got these leads in a state, because they're on the border, and a lot of people have 2 licenses, one for Illinois and one for Iowa. And she didn't have a license in Illinois, but he helped her. He went to the appointments with her, did everything. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. But so if I was so arrogant to think that my 40 years of experience meant that I knew more than everyone, or I had, think how little I would have learned over the past several years, right? So here's what happens next. It says, nature already has supplied me with knowledge and instinct far greater than any beast in the forest, and the value of experience is overrated, usually, I love this part, usually by old men who nod wisely and speak stupidly. I'm not going to nod. So I kind of feel like when I'm laughing like that I'm talking to myself, because it's, what is it? Almost 8 at night. But I love that part. He said, nature already has supplied me with knowledge and instinct far greater than any beast in the forest, and the value of experience is overrated, usually by old men who nod wisely and speak stupidly. Great, great sentence. In truth, experience teaches thoroughly, yet her course of instruction devours men's years, so the value of her lessons diminishes with the time necessary to acquire her special wisdom. The end finds it wasted on dead men. In other words, you don't need years and years of experience. You just need to get busy with the knowledge that's been left for you. Okay? This is really a great part here because it's about really getting your butt into action. It's about using what people have already used ahead of you instead of saying, well, I'm going to have to get more experience doing that. I had a conversation with somebody about that the other day. No more freezing and saying, I can't do that. I haven't had enough experience. In my wife's business, they always say, training doesn't work. It's the work that trains. You go out, you do it, you fail forward. Okay. Furthermore, experience is comparable to fashion. An action that proves successful today will be unworkable and impractical tomorrow. Now, that part, I don't know that that necessarily applies to real estate, but I know certain parts where it does for sure. That something that used to work may not work as much. A particular script or dialogue or a particular style of lead generating may or may not work. But there are a lot of things that have been around for a long time in real estate that still work that people won't do or say, well, that's an old thing or that's a basic. Yeah, the basics do work still. Only principles endure. There's it is. Principles endure. And these I now possess, for the laws that will lead me to greatness are contained in the words of these scrolls. What they will teach me is more to prevent failure than to gain success. For what is success other than a state of mind? Which two among 1,000 wise men will define success in the same words? That's brilliant. I've talked about that my whole speaking career, is that when people use the word success, it's so different for everyone. And that's what I love about that. He says, which two among 1,000 men will define success in the same way? Yet failure is always described but one way. Failure is a man's inability to reach his goals in life, whatever they may be. In truth, the only difference between those who have failed and those who have succeeded lies in the difference of their habits. Good habits are the key to all success. Bad habits are the unlocked door to failure. Thus, the first lie I will obey, which precedeth all others, is I will form good habits and become their slave. Now, I have to say, while I love Og Mandino, I have a different view on habits. I always say that habits aren't good, bad, right, or wrong. They're just effective or ineffective. They work for what I want to get to or where I want to get to, or they don't work for where I want to get to. So I would maybe change that a little bit in my mind when I read that, because but I do want to, look what it says. In my mind, I will say, I will form effective habits and become their slave. You got to remember, when you're forming effective habits, or like he calls them good habits, it doesn't mean your bad habits go away. It's just that when the thought comes up that you're going to go back into one of those ineffective or older habits, or bad habits as he calls them, you start to think, well, that habit never got me where I wanted to go. Now think about that in your nutrition, in your health, in your physical well-being, in your relationships. Think about it in everything, not just sales. That's why I told you this book is about life. As a child, I was slave to my impulses. Bad habits, impulses. Now I am slave to my habits, my effective habits, as are all grown men. I have surrendered my free will to the years of accumulated habits. Notice that I have surrendered my free will to the years of accumulated habits. That means I'm so on automatic in my ineffective habits. And I can remember this. In fact, I've experienced it just recently. I was priding myself on being back down to 172, and I've been that way since 2017. Here we're almost entering 2020. But, lately I've been kind of wandering off that nutrition path, and a donut here, bread and butter there, all of a sudden, not so light anymore. So you think about all those things. Accumulated habits in the past deeds of my life have already marked out a path which threatens to imprison my future. So those old habits threaten to imprison my future. My actions are ruled by appetite, passion, prejudice, greed, love, fear, environment, habit, and the worst of these tyrants is habit. Therefore, I must be a slave to habit, and let me be a slave to good habits. My bad habits must be destroyed, and new furrows prepared for good seed. So a furrow is when somebody's digging up dirt to plant seeds in a farm. So I'm going to, in my mind, it says my habits must be destroyed, my bad habits. Remember, they're in there. You just got to be stronger than them. So I will form good habits and become their slave. And how will I accomplish this difficult feat? Through these scrolls. It will be done. For each scroll contains a principle which will drive a bad habit from my life, an ineffective habit, and replace it with one which will bring me closer to success, an effective habit. For it is another of nature's laws that only a habit can subdue another habit. There he says it, right? Only a habit that is more effective, that makes you happier and gets you closer to where you want, can help you to get rid of or stop performing in the ineffective habit methods. Okay. So now it goes on to talk about the scrolls and reading the scrolls. So I'm going to put that aside for now. Let's see. There is some other parts here that I wanted to read. But if I start reacting to all this, and good habit for when, yeah. And I make, today I begin a new life. Remember, that's how he starts his scroll number 1, and that keeps showing up in here. Today I begin a new life, and I will form good habits and make them my slave. Those are the 2 main statements in the whole scroll. And I make a solemn oath to myself that nothing will retard my new life's growth. I will lose not a day from these readings, meaning reading the scrolls. And as I read and reread in the scrolls to follow, never will I allow the brevity of each scroll nor the simplicity of its words to cause me to treat the scroll's message lightly. So that is the message. Now, I want to go over the other scrolls, not tonight, not today, scroll number 2 through 10, and we'll talk about them. But wouldn't it be great if this message today got you to go get the book? You can buy them like used online for like $3. Serious. Almost every bookstore carries them. If you have a used bookstore in your area, go see if they have them. If not, get on Amazon or eBay or whatever it is you get on. I don't know. Get on something and buy it. And there are so many others. If we go out to my library in the other room, we have so many different Og Mandino's books, including one called The Principles of Success. So really, I'm sorry. Yes, Principles of Success. So think about those of adding to your reading. I have shared with you other things to read in the past, and I'm not going to go into those right now. There are some things, though, that I want to wrap this up with. There is nothing. I talked to a friend of mine today, Angela Pena. She's at Exit Realty in Salt Lake City, Utah, in Sugar House. She is just such a hard worker, an incredible single mom, wonderful mentor to so many, just a community advocate, just a wonderful lady. And so I was talking to her today, and she was so excited because her business is picking up. And I asked her, I said, "Hey, so Angelina, what do you attribute this, increase in your business?" She goes, "I'm just doing what you told me to do, Rick. I'm making my calls." And I said, "And what's the next big thing for you?" And she goes, "Oh, I've got hundreds of these beautiful Happy Thanksgiving cards going out." I said, "Oh, that's awesome." And I said, "Have you done any calling yet?" And she goes, "Well, I'm going to do what you taught me." And I said, "Well, tell me what you're going to do, and don't worry about who you learned it from, because most of what I've told you to do, I learned from others." So she said, "I'm going to send these out. And she said, I'm sending one to myself, so I know when it gets to my house, I'll know everyone else would have received it. And I'll start just following up with phone calls to see how they're doing, talk to them about their favorite subject, which is themselves, wish them happy Thanksgiving, ask them if they got my card, that kind of thing, and just keep the conversation going." She said, "And I know from experience that if I do this using something called a Ford script, F-O-R-D, meaning family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, where you talk to them about their family, about their job, about their fun that they do, and what are their dreams for the future, that eventually the subject comes up, 'Hey, Angelina, what's going on for you?' Right? And thank you for the card," and all of these nice things. And eventually they get around to realizing that, they hadn't talked about real estate. And that doesn't always happen on the first call. So the reason I'm bringing this up is, if you really have listened to this habit thing, what might be the first habit you need to incorporate is what I said earlier, is that In the month of November, we have 16 days left, and we have 31 in December. So that's 47 more days left in the year. And what a difference you could make in your business for late December, January, and February if you started to do some amazingly effective, good habits immediately. So you're going to be listening to this from 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if you're on the East Coast, you'll be finished listening to this before 1 p.m. If you're in Hawaii, you'll be finished listening to this by 8 a.m. So all of us would still have plenty of day left to see about making a difference in our business today, right? Because today, meaning the day you watch this, which is November 15th, is not a holiday. It's a business day. It's a day to go to work. It's a day to make a difference in your life. It's a day to do things that you said you're going to do every day this week and you haven't done them yet. It's a day that you lay your head down tonight and say, I got to lead. Today, I got to lead. Today, I did what I must do to stay in the real estate business. I got to lead. And I always say a lead is a bona fide lead is somebody who's going to buy or sell in the next 6 months. Now, other people disagree with me. They say a bona fide lead is somebody who's going to buy or sell in the next 30 days. I don't care. Call it what you want. Go get one, whatever it is. Get somebody who deep down in your heart, you know. I used to talk to new agents when I used to own all of my real estate offices. And before that, when I managed a real estate office, and they'd say, oh yeah, I've been working with this guy. This guy's going to make a difference. He's going to buy a house, right? So tell me about this guy. And they would not have like a pre-approval letter. They wouldn't have anything. But you know why agents were holding on to people like that? Because it was their only hope at the time. They didn't really have a really qualified buyer or qualified seller, right? This business is tricky. It gets you coming and going, but it can also be the biggest gift in your life, right? And the thing that makes it the gift is you doing the work necessary. So I really enjoyed getting to talk to you about that. It really affected me on the plane today, reading that, and I've read it. I can't even tell you how many times, but man, that's why that book, that's the only book. Like on my phone, I probably have 70 books on my Kindle app, but this is the only book I carry in my briefcase with me all the time because of what a difference it makes. And no matter what mood I'm in, I can pick this up on a plane. I can pick it up sitting, waiting for a client to show up and get re-inspired. And more than anything, it's like when I'm reading it, I want you to pretend that the insides of the pages while you're looking at them is a mirror. A mirror. You're looking back at yourself as you read those words and say, can I put those words to use? Am I living by these words? Right? I mean, Og Mandino was broke and homeless when he started writing inspirational books. Okay, he died a very wealthy man because he truly believed that we needed the words that would help us see ourselves better, see ourselves as more amazing than we do. And that's what his words are. They're just reminding you that you're amazing. You have capacity. You have ability. You just have to go out and execute. So happy Friday, November 15th. We will be doing this again on November 22nd. And November 22nd, I will be live. I won't be pre-recorded. And again, if you're watching this, or if you know of somebody that would like to watch this, then you need to get me their email, and then they go on a registration form. If you used to see me on Zoom and you're having trouble seeing it, that means you were sent an email that came from Richard Jiha, not Rick, but Richard is my formal name, and it might have gone into spam. We've heard a lot of people say that. So either way, love you guys. I appreciate you more than I can tell you, and getting to do these is an honor for me. So I hope you're well, and kick some butt. Talk to you later.